that's a better welcome than just getting straight to the point. Okay, I just finished with another episode for the Greek life cycle, in which I spoke for something that I spoke to you in the previous episode when I was talking about Valentine's Day and about love missing from our lives. So at the end of this episode that I did in Greek, I spoke about loneliness, because whether we like it or not, we live in a time of loneliness. People are lonely, and sometimes I don't know what's worse. Well, I do know what's worse, because I was talking with a friend of mine. She was saying to me, you know what, you're alone and it's normal to feel lonely sometimes, but I feel lonely and I'm in a relationship. So I was thinking to myself, okay, that's pretty bad, because being alone and feeling lonely sometimes, it's one thing, and it's normal. It makes sense. That's what I mean. But being in a relationship and feeling lonely, that's unhappiness at its best, right? But there are so many things that I can think of right now that they have been bad the last couple of centuries. I wasn't here 2 centuries ago, but the last couple of decades, that they go wrong in our societies, in order for us now in 2021, at the start of this new decade, right, being alone, feeling lonely. I hear people, pay attention, I hear people talking and saying that, you know what, I like what I hear and what I find out, what I research and I read, that in a couple of decades from now maybe, we will be able to be, we will be transhumans. We won't be humans in the way we are now, right? But we will have components inside us. We will have artificial parts that will initiate, that will initiate a new dawn of a new era, of a new society, of people that will be like cyborgs. I am thinking to myself, wait a minute, we're humans. And I already hear people saying that, you know what, I will find happiness if I will become a cyborg, if I will become, like half a robot or something. And I'm like, really? I mean, there must be something heavily wrong with our societies if there are people right now that think this way. And loneliness is one thing, but this loneliness directing you and driving you in the path that the alternative is losing your humanity, losing who you were made by God. This is a completely different thing. And that's why I was saying, I say that the lack of love in our hearts, like in our hearts and our societies everywhere, the lack of love is dangerous, is a red alarm. So what I was saying is that loneliness, it's the pillar, it's the gate that leads us to the lack of, let me take it from the start. The lack of love in our lives, it's the gate that leads us to that path of loneliness. And you all know what I'm talking about. Like, the majority of the people around me that I see, they feel lonely. They're alone, they're single, they feel lonely. I'm telling you, I mean, this friend of mine, she's in a relationship and she feels lonely. And I know for a fact that her boyfriend is going down his way as well. So there are so many things that I want to say right now, but I'm not ready yet to make an episode, which it won't be just an episode, but it will be a series of episodes that will be targeted on the loneliness nowadays, the lack of love, and why this thing happens to us. Because it's not as simple as it sounds. I believe that all these things, they happen to us, and that's the result of manipulative process that we as humanity go through at least a few decades now. At least a few decades. And I hope I didn't confuse you by saying what I just said, but what I'm trying to say is that the way that our societies, the Western especially civilization, has been acting for at least 50 years now, I think it has been acting in a very manipulative way in order to have the results that we have nowadays. Lonely people, single people, people that they have no goals, no targets, nothing in life to make them really happy. And on top of all these things, now we have coronavirus as well. What do you think about that? Yeah, corona, the word coronavirus comes from the Greek word korona, which means crown. The word crown comes from the word corona, which is the female for Kronos. This could be an entirely different episode, but I'm just saying, right? We live in times that everything that we see is not what it appears to be. But just to wrap up this episode, because what I'm trying to say, because I don't want to make this episode longer and drag the focus from what I just want to say here. I will do other episodes focusing on different subjects that I just mentioned, but on this episode I want to focus on loneliness and the lack of love from our lives. When we are alone, we are single entities, we are much easier to be diminished. Do you get my drift? Okay, I'm gonna close this episode by saying that I want to hear your opinion about this very, very important subject. It has to do with our lives. It has to do with our future. It has to do with humanity's future. Remember, we are at a very important time in human history right now. That's what I believe. We are at a tipping point that things can go any way. It's up to us which way things will evolve. And that's why I want to do videos like this one, like today's episode, because I want to tell you that it is our power, our energy, it's our power, and we target it any way we choose. And that choice should be made out of love, out of our feelings, our common sense, our heart, our mind, as I spoke, in a previous episode about manifestation of our dreams. All these things are linked, right? So our energy should be advised by our inner emotions and feelings about our dreams and goals and desires, not by fear. That's why I'm making this episode. Take fear out of your life, because wherever you look today, there's fear everywhere. Take fear away and then let your heart decide. Let your heart with your brain make the choices for your life. It is very important for my message to come across to you. I do hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm waiting for your comments, for your ideas. What do you think about what I spoke about today? And until next time, I send you all my love, all my kisses.